What's happening? It looks like we are having a little bit of feedback here. Let's see if you guys can hear me. Right? Can you guys hear me? I am trusting that you can hear me there. Okay, let us see. Okay, good. How's it going there by you? I am trusting you're doing well. Okay. Right, one, two, testing, one, two, testing. Hey, what's happening? Where are you guys watching us from? And technology is just failing me today. It's not normally like this, but we are here, so we decided let's start, right? We decided let's start. So wherever you're watching us from, let us know in the comments, and yeah, a bit of a creepy startup there in terms of going online, and I was having kind of like a multiple. There's a funny noise coming through. They said. I am trusting that that funny noise is gone. It should be gone by now. I'm trusting that you're doing all right. Let me know if you're doing all right, and let me know if the sound is good. And let me bring in co-hostess. Let's see whether she is there. What's happening?
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Nice. Hello.
Good. It looks like the technology failed me on this side. We couldn't even do, or should we say, we couldn't even play our intro. So I decided, hey, maybe let's utilize the first couple of minutes actually to just hang out together, right?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I don't know. It's sometimes, with these live things, it's great that we can be live somewhere, but sometimes we have to just roll with the punches as they come with the technology.
100%. If you have to see my disc right now, it's amazing. I've got a phone, I've got another PC, another screen, and another screen, and there's like four screens in here. I think maybe that's why everything else didn't go to plan. But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I am trusting that you're doing all right. If you've never been here before, my name is TJ Tara Jack, and we talk about anything and everything around property. And the lady there, she is the partner in crime. And good to see all of you guys that are watching us from anywhere and everywhere. I see a couple of people that are watching us from overseas and locally. So let us know where you're watching us from. That is the first thing. And we normally bring you, I don't want to say we always bring you people that are doing property, people that are starting from the bottom up, people that practicing, not just talking, right? That's what this show is all about. We are about bringing in other people every second week. We skip one week, and then the other second week we bring in someone who is doing something in the real estate property. So which means that they are not just a person who understands or who's doing this from a book somewhere. but they are actually doing it. It means that they have some properties somewhere else. And if you have to check any of the previous videos that we have been doing, we've been at it for how long, Rita, doing this thing?
Okay. The thing, if you if that is YouTube, it's been a while, a couple of years, and then I mean we've been going live for I don't know since we started, I think. But this combined show that we're doing now on a Thursday. Yeah, it's been a month or two now, that we have consistently done this on a Thursday evening, and hopefully just showing and teaching and inspiring someone out there. I always find it very inspiring whenever I talk to someone and just listen to the journey, what they've been through, where they come from, and and just to see how they do things sometimes differently can trigger something in your mind, and you're like, flip, I can do this or that, and make what I do better. And it's always inspiring for me. So I thoroughly enjoy these sessions that we have on a Thursday with 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 everyday people, if I can call it that, that comes in and share their journey with us.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. So wherever you're watching us from, at the beginning of the show, it's just me and Rita. You all know we do the business M5 Property Addicts. That's what we do. Some of you've probably invested with us. Thank you very much if you have done so. If you haven't, you have an opportunity, jump onto our website. Under products, you'll be able to see any of the investment products that we do, and you can jump on the. But without wasting time, I want to bring in a brother from another mother. Yeah. Someone else who is doing property, is doing it in a different way, and he's been doing it for a while. I had a catch up with him recently over breakfast, and breaking food, and just talking about life in general. However, without wasting time, let me bring him in so that you can understand who he is, what he does. And by the way, you are most welcome to be asking questions as we go along, and we will ask him those questions. And over and above that, it's not just to ask him questions, but also to understand his journey, what's been happening. So, Khanya, how's it going? Welcome to Pass It On. It is a Thursday night at the top of the hour. We do this all the time. So, good morning to you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening to you, TJ. Good evening to you, Rita.
Hello. It's good to see you again on YouTube, because we obviously have that one very famous video with you. So if anybody out there hasn't seen it, go and check it out. Khanya did an amazing video for us. I think it was with your section 14 sex, right? That
section 13 sex, yes.
13 sex. SEX, yes. I'll spell it because I don't know if that word's allowed on YouTube.
It is allowed. You just say it. You just say
the video. So anybody, please go and listen to that. It's actually quite interesting. We've had so many people viewing it and commenting on it. So yeah, awesome video. So welcome back, can I say?
Thank you very much.
For me, that's the amazing part. To see someone else's journey unfold. It is not just me and Rita's journeys. I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, flip, 5-6 years ago, I was still at the bank. And, if anyone had told me that this is the journey that it would have been, I'd have said, buzz off. Nah, I wouldn't do that. And here we are, and talking about real estate. We're in it full time. Khanya is in it full time. But I don't want to steal his thunder today. It's about him. And Khanya, who are you? Give us a snapshot. Who are you? What do you do? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, TJ. So who I am is firstly an environmental scientist, but also a passionate property investor. mostly focused like on your student accommodation and multilets, especially in your inner cities or your CBD areas. Yes, that's
Okay.
why. Yeah, thank you.
What do you mean by, what did you say again? Environment,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, environmental scientist and also a property investor.
Okay, let's talk about the environment, that thing, the enviro what
Yes.
scientist. So so you're a doctor then, is that what it means?
No,
If you're a
no, no,
scientist and you're a doctor, or it's two separate things?
just a scientist, my brother. Because in order to obviously to be a doctor as a scientist, you need to get like a PhD. But for me, I only reached the master's level, not a PhD level.
Right,
Is that why you have clouds there at the back in your background?
Yes, yeah, that's why. because the clouds, besides the environmental, also on the water side. So I have to produce the water with the clouds.
Quite cheeky, eh? Right. So a lot of people, I think, they would think that being a scientist, if you're a scientist, you kind of like set, because there are not so many people who become scientists. And there you are, you decide to be a scientist, but also you have a passion for property. And not only have you left your being the scientist there, but you're still doing it.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask the question to say, why property as well? Because being a scientist, there are not so many people. You could probably get a job anywhere else, specialize in what you specialize in, because there are not so many people who are keen to study the way you have done it. But why property then?
Yeah. So besides being a scientist and following like what I'm passionate about, which is mostly like your environmental things, because you're going to laugh at this, because my favorite cartoon growing up was Captain Planet. So that's what in a way played a part in me going the environmental scientist route. But then I also noticed that besides following your roots, your passion and what you're passionate about, I realized that when I was working as a scientist, I saw that the job was not going to give me financial freedom, sort of working for somebody else. Because usually as a scientist, you would either be at a university or like lecturing, or you would be like at a research institution doing research. But I thought that doing that is not going to give me financial freedom. So property would be the way to go. I mean, there's no other asset class that has been shown to produce financial freedom or more millionaires than property.
I like that. I do that. You could sense the silence between me and Rita. We kind of like just simmering in.
Yeah, and I think, for me, what's striking about that is that it doesn't really matter what you do, whether you're a scientist or you're in the banking, or in my case, I was a management consultant. It doesn't matter kind of where you are. You're always like really, as an employee, you're kind of limited by what you can earn. And uh, when you then need that little bit of extra money every month, property is such a generic thing that anybody can do. Doesn't matter what job or what background you come from, anybody can do it. And I think for me, I mean, between the three of us, we're so diverse in terms of what we did for a day job. But now all of us coming together in property, and it really just shows you that no matter what background you're from, you can get into property and you can make a bit of extra money from that.
Yes. Correct. And also, what I've also realized is that so many of my fellow classmates from varsity who are also studying to become scientists, many of them now are not even working in the field of being a scientist. Because what happened in South Africa is that we were told also that there is a group of skills which is sort of scarce skills, including being a scientist. And then people were saying that if you study something along the lines of being one of those scarce skills needed in the country, you are assured of a job. And many of the graduates who are in my class, they are currently working in different fields, not being scientists.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
That's interesting. That's an interesting fact, actually. That not normally are you the path that you're thinking that is going to be the North Star. So you kind of like now need to pivot. For you, it has become property. For others, maybe, I don't know, scientist, marketing, scientist, general worker. I don't know what they become. But it's, yeah. Khanya, you speak about financial freedom. What does that mean?
Financial freedom to me is getting to a stage where you are free to do like what you want when you want to do it, whereby your time is sort of limited, because with multiple streams of income, it then means that your time and what you can do is so almost like it's not limited. You don't have to answer to a boss and get permission to go somewhere. You basically are like in control of your time, because you've taken also the time to create multiple streams of income for yourself.
Sure, Khanya, that is deep, my friend, because I've been I've been unemployable for now, what, 5 years, 6 years? But the people at AM5, they don't just allow me to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I still need to send a request. And how do you manage to do that?
Yeah, but my brother, I think it's more like along the lines where there is not someone that I have to answer to, because at the current moment, what I am doing is I'm building a portfolio whereby the bulk of it is mostly being managed by myself, but there are some aspects that are also being managed by other people. So because I'm almost like a one-man show, so therefore I don't answer to anybody.
Hey, I wish I knew I should have gone solo. This thing of having partners now, I need to be asking my partners for permission, and I was running away from that from the job, and it looks like I still have that. Yeah, I think I need to change my ways.
It's like this morning, I was like, Flip, I just want to go get back into bed, and I'm like, DJ's waiting for this thing that I need to do. And it's just kind of like, fine, I'll just go and do it. So yeah, but I think also, it's important what you say there is that you can use other people's time now, and we're always talking about other people's money, but there's something also called other people's time. And what you have then been able to do is really to leverage. One of the great things is that you can now basically buy or get more time by using other people's time to do things for you. And I think that is actually quite powerful. And Lihle always talks about all of these leverages, and for me that is other people's time is a very overlooked leverage that you can have, and you can have more than 24 hours in a day by just doing it differently.
Yes, exactly. I mean, for example, if you are like a property investor, instead of like managing your properties yourself and dealing with the tenants yourself, you can just outsource it to a managing company. Then they deal with the tenants instead of you. Then you've got more time for other things.
Yeah.
I think I want to jump into the guests here, people that are watching us right now, wherever you are watching us from, whatever channel. the best place to watch us actually is on YouTube. And we are at YouTube, the M5 Property Addicts. If you're watching us for the first time, welcome. But I want to ask you a question to you guys to say, Reza has just positioned something that I think is very important. And if we all get that, I think we would excel very much. But if we don't, we'll never see it. The concept of leveraging, right? So in your view, what is it that you can leverage, especially in property, right? So Khanya spoke about the leveraging of time. So don't put in time. And Reta, you spoke about what? Did you speak about the skill now?
No, I spoke about the time as well.
Oh, okay, cool. So, oops, I just gave you, yeah, so I just gave you another one, which is skill. So what other thing can you leverage in the property space? So in the comments let us know what is it that you can leverage so that you can either progress your business. Khanya spoke about now, you can leverage other people's time, for instance, on the management side, and you can do what you want to do whilst other people are managing your business. Yes, you're going to pay for them. Yes, you're going to be losing that income, but potentially that income is going to be it's not, the value of that income is not as equivalent as to the stress or the free time that you're not going to get to do other things. So I'm just waiting on you guys to hit me up on what other thing can you leverage off. But maybe I'm going to go to Khanya. Khanya, what is it that you think in your journey so far, something else that you have leveraged off besides time? And then I'll go to Reta whilst we are waiting for the guys to be a keyboard warrior.
Yes, TJ. So besides time, other people's time, also one can leverage off other people's skills. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is to try to be the jack of all trades. So just leveraging of other people's skills, like what I've just mentioned now, where a management company will, besides leveraging their time, also their skill of managing the tenants. For example, if you've got like a student accommodation property, maybe you yourself, you might not be that great in terms of managing students and their naughty side. So rather outsource that skill to someone else who is better skilled in terms of managing the students and their expectations. And also when it comes to like running the numbers, maybe someone like an accountant, to maybe like run the numbers for you when it comes to analyzing the deals. And of course, you're doing your auditing and your accounting.
One of our partners, his name is Terence, is very good at leveraging. He says to me, especially on the accounting part there, he says he just wants to stress test the numbers. And I'm like, but we did the numbers already. He says, no, let's just stress test it with the accountant. So yeah, so that's another thing. Reta, what other thing do you think you can leverage off? There's so many things in property where you can leverage from others. So now we've just spoken about skill, we've spoken about time. What other thing?
Well, I think let me mention the obvious one, which is obviously money, right? And there, I'm not talking about necessarily private money or something like that, but really banks' money. Because you can get a property by having 1 million rand cash, you can potentially own a 10 million rand asset. And that is really then leveraging, because you are earning maybe a small 10% return on your asset, but it's not a 10% on 1 million, it's actually a 10% on the 10 million, for instance. So you're leveraging the bank's money to get yourself a much bigger item than you would have been able to buy for yourself. And then you have a balance sheet, and then from there you can buy more properties and so on, and you can grow your portfolio over time. And your tenants will pay off whatever leverage or bonds or whatever, because when I talk money leverage, it's really bonds, right? So your tenants are paying that off. So in a way, then that I think is the most powerful leverage. And I actually went into another video on the channel, if you have a time, where I really go into detail on step by step on how it works on just a small 500,000 type of investment, and what you can do with that money, and so on. So that might be worth a watch if you really want to dive deep into money leverage in property. Sorry, that was the obvious one, but
yeah. We'll come back to the leverage one. We're just gonna wait for the people to type in what they think we can leverage on. We want to make these sessions as interactive as possible. But Khanya, I want to come back to you, man. You left school, became a scientist. When did this thing about properties start, and how did it start for you?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. For me, when this thing really started off, I think I was in my late teen, when one of my uncle, he had a couple of properties, and he'd send me around with a plumber. And I think at the time, that's when it was kind of like ingrained in me. And then later on, I forgot about it. And when it came back, I was like, hold on. I've got an uncle so-and-so, and I never really saw him working. And it started making sense to me why he never worked. Is because he had all of these properties that used to give him money or very regularly. And that's when I realized, oh, I can also do this. But I didn't know how to do it. So I just started doing it, and I did it the wrong way. I lost a bit of money. But for you, where did it trigger for you, where you can remember to say, at that point I said, I'm going to start property is my thing?
Yes, man. So where it triggered for me is when I was working as a scientist. I was working for a company, and I was also noticing that for someone, I was saying to myself, okay, for someone who has a master's degree earning less than 15,000 rand a month, and I thought this can't really be right. So then I was invited to a seminar of an investment club called the P3 Investment Club. And in this seminar, they explained, they spoke about what your wealthy people do, whereby they buy properties in trusts, and then they obviously leverage their income from those properties. But the one thing which I disagreed with this investment club is they were saying your properties don't have to be cash flow positive from day one. They will be cash flow positive after a few years. Because right now, one of my principles is that the property must be cash flow positive from day one. So really, where the trigger came was I was saying to myself, okay, I'm a scientist with all the qualifications. My income cannot be this limited. And then I got invited to a property seminar, and I saw all these people building property portfolios. Yeah, that's why it triggered for me.
When was this?
This was yes. This was in my early 20s. That was in about 2009.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So you've been doing property since then?
Yeah.
Since attending that seminar, which was in 2009, then I only bought my first property the following year, then in 2010. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and at least you attended that seminar and you took action. And so many people will attend these things, have realizations, and just go home and continue the way they were. They don't take action, which is very important. What do they say? Knowledge is useless unless you take action. And that's when we know knowledge is power comes in, but without the action, it's really worth nothing at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
What was your first property that you bought? What was it?
Okay, the first property I bought was a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. It was located in Pretoria North, and but then I sold it after a 5 years because that investment club, one of the things they were saying is, as I said, your property doesn't have to be cash flow positive from day one. So, but I realized after 5 years that this wasn't working for me, so I sold that one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Khanya, when you were starting off, so now you've got this investment club going on. I actually know of them, but I never had the opportunity to go to P3. But I know quite a few people that that started off their journey from there, from those guys. When you were starting off, now you've bought this property and you sold it. What were some of your stumbling blocks that you started having at the beginning? Because now you're doing amazing stuff, right? So which we want to get to in a short while. But when you were starting off, what was some of your challenges? I mean, you just mentioned now, you bought a property, you went into a seminar. In the seminar, you got the advice and you actually went to buy a property, right? Which was good. But now, whilst you're in this property, you, on your own, you started thinking, no, man, there gotta be something wrong. Why does this property not giving me money? So an investment is supposed to give you money. That's an investment. In definition of an investment, it gives you money. It's an asset. And if it's a liability, it's taking away money. So it's not an investment. But we can have an argument around that. For some of our listeners, they're like, no, TJ, an investment. Calm down. It's okay. This is our show, so we are allowed to dictate and define the way we want it. To us, an investment needs to give you money. If it's not giving you money, it's a liability, right? So you identified that this is a liability. Now, other than this issue here that we spoke about, in the beginning, what were some of the challenges? Kind of like, you know, we all start off somewhere. You started off on a 1-bed, 1-bath. Now, what were some of those challenges that you were faced with for you to start grow now?
Yes, man. So one of the challenges, TJ, was that even before I bought this first property, I actually did attempt to buy another one, but the main challenge or the aha moment that struck me was when I was applying for my first bond. I got rejected. I was saving quite aggressively from the money I was earning, like investing in your ETFs, exchange traded funds. And then I thought that the banks are going to look at you favorably if you are saving and you stay away from debt. But I got told by what shook me. I still remember the feeling in my body when I got told by the bond originator that you have been declined. And then I said, why? And they said, it's because you don't have a credit record. You've never had debt. And I said, what? So we're expected to be in debt in order to get bonds. And then, then that struck me. And that made me think, okay, so that's how the banks work. It's almost like you, in order to get a job, you must have work experience. But now, where do you get the work experience from? So same thing when it comes to getting bonds. First get like a credit, even if it's a store card or a credit card, so the banks can see how you manage your debts. Then you can apply for bonds. So that was the first stumbling block that I came across, the importance of having a credit record. And then also with once this first property was bought, the one thing that I noticed also was that because it was a sectional title, I got frustrated with with levies, because I noticed that levies were eating into my profits. Yes.
I want to comment on the credit record thing. So I thought it was. So I'm very happy to hear that there's other people like my husband out there. He's just his whole life he's resisted getting any kind of credit, So he literally doesn't exist on any credit record anywhere. Okay, he's never ever in his whole life had debt. So yeah, so I thought that there aren't that many people that do that. But whenever we talk about credit records, it's really like your history or your report card almost of how good are you at paying debt, because it's a promise that you make that you're going to pay that money back. And if you have a good report card, it's like you can go out there and buy money. I always say, I can go out and buy. You can go and buy money. Why are you struggling? And it's really just about going out and getting bonds and credit cards. All of a sudden, whoop, today you had nothing, tomorrow you have 200,000 rands. Yes, you must pay it back, but at the end of the day, as long as you buy something with that's going to bring in more money for you, you can do it. It's quick and easy access to money. It's just the report card that you need, a history of payments. So yeah, interesting, that one.
Yes, thank you.
Khanya, you speak of financial freedom.
Yes.
And the way you defined it was doing what you want, when you want, and how you want to do it.
Yes.
Now, you've been in property for the last, let's just say for the last plus minus 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, I want to jump onto the benefits of the goal that you're chasing.
Yes.
So the goal is financial freedom, and I do think that if one has goals around it, you can then be able to start achieving it. And I want to ask you today, so for instance, we joked about flexibility, but I do think that amongst ourselves, the three of us, we now all have flexibility because we're not stuck at a job somewhere for us to be there at a particular time and so on. But I was privileged that actually my previous job, or the job that I had, it was also a flexible job. I just didn't like it because I had to travel to Africa quite a lot. I used to enjoy the cultures and so on there. But the question that I want to ask here is, what are the benefits that you're already starting to see now on your financial freedom? So you defined that this is financial freedom, and you then went on to say these are the things that define that.
Yes.
But have you started seeing any of that? Because you're on the journey already.
Yes, my brother. Yes. So the benefits that I've seen now is that the flexibility that comes with it means that one can actually now have more time to pursue like other things, like besides the time that you have to obviously grow the portfolio and look for other deals and also pursue other business interests. But at the same time, I've noticed that it's also allowing me to travel, because traveling is one of the things that I love. So it's basically giving me the time, the flexibility, not only to grow the portfolio by finding other deals, but also to travel, and which of course also impacts one's health, because the 9 to 5 routine, which comes with a normal job, it usually is found to not be good for your health. So just being more flexible is also good for your health. So that's what I've some of the benefits that I found.
So where are you traveling to? Give us a sneak peek. Where have you traveled? Make us jealous.
Okay, no, mostly around South Africa, like going to your game reserves in different provinces, but then overseas, it has mostly been like to Europe, like to Italy and to Spain.
Nice. Okay, I'm officially jealous. TJ, I need some time off.
But obviously the overseas ones, it's usually like I'm not yet at the stage where I can go for like a month. It's usually just a week. Yeah, when I'm traveling outside South Africa.
No, that's still enough to make me jealous.
Or you want to go to your one of your goals is to go overseas for a month, like a solid month. You're gone. You're not in South Africa. Nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
My man.
Just
My goal is just to be able to go to the other side of the pretty mountains right now.
Let us jump into your defining moment of property. When you got onto a deal or a happy moment for you that defined for you to say property is for me. Do you have a deal like that, or do you have a moment that kind of like defined that for you and you're like, I go here, this is what I love to do? And why is that a defining moment for you, a defining deal for you?
yes. So yes, I can say that there was a deal that just made me say, okay, yes, this property business is for me, because initially I started off with just your apartments, like your sectional titles, and then of course the frustration is obviously, as I've mentioned, the levies. In that, as an owner, you don't have control over levies, which eat into your profits. So what then made me think that, okay, yes, this property business can really be good if I take another route, was when I bought the first multi-let, because I realized that with a multi-let, it was a multi-let in Auckland Park here in Joburg. I realized that just by having multiple tenants in a freehold, in a normal house, not in a complex. Firstly, the difference between the revenue and the expenses was much bigger than your sectional title. So that's what really now, that's the moment that made me realize that, okay, yes, maybe I've been doing it wrong, just focusing on new developments, because the developers, they were quite good in selling for one to buy off plan, because they were always promoting the tax incentive that I mentioned in the other video, the Section 13 tax incentive, that if you buy off plan new developments, there's this tax incentive. So, but I realized that by doing the sectional title apartments was the wrong route. Rather, the right route was to go multi-lets.
Mm.
Yes.
You speak of a multi-let. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that, it's usually a property where you've got your multiple tenants. It can either be like a house where you've got several rooms and the rooms all have different tenants. So therefore, meaning that you are managing different tenants with different lease agreements under one roof, or even like you're like a building, a commercial property, or even like a student accommodation property.
Okay.
Yeah. What was the weirdest or funniest thing that has happened to you in property?
The most weird thing, I would say it's in the multi-let, the one that was in Auckland Park. They're just dealing with the tenants, especially during COVID, because I'd never faced it before, where I had to now just because I always thought that the rental each year must increase at least by 10% each year. So during COVID, there was a moment that a realization came that you must actually try and meet the tenants halfway, because their income has been affected by COVID. So you as the landlord now must try and make also a compromise. And one of the tenants actually lost their job, but they were like a plumber. They were working as a plumber. So I said to them that instead of you paying rent, you can rather assist me for free here and here without paying rent. So that sort of like was a weird moment, because it made me realize that instead of just getting the money from the tenants just in rental, I can then also maybe benefit from his skill until he recovers financially.
Yeah, that's a good one. I also like to do those ones. I've got it sometimes with students as well, where they help you a little bit, and and you can give people discounts and things like that on their rent. So that's actually, and at the end of the day, you're actually scoring because there's somebody on the premises that can immediately help, and it's not a matter of bugging you. They can just go and help. So yeah, that's definitely a really cool one. That's.
Thank you.
Rita, what was your weirdest moment, or have you gotten any weird moments? You asked Khanya of a weird moment.
You want to know? You have one. Oh, I've had so many. I don't even know where to start because it's like, at our office now, right? So you guys, I don't know if for everybody out there, one of the companies that I run is a student accommodation management company. So we literally have on a board in the office now, we've got a counter, like they've got to say 0 so many days without an accident on the plants. Now I've got so many days from a weird thing happening with something with a student. Either a complaint or some drama or something. We have a counter like that on the wall now. So there's always something like 2-3 times a week. So I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I think dealing with kids, we get the idea there that there's always something fascinating. I mean, I enjoy listening to those stories. Khanya, I want to dive into a particular deal that you are happy to tell us how you found the deal, and how you go to finance it, and you choose any of your deals. If you can pick a more complicated, the happier I am. But I also don't want us to lose the people, because I know that there's people that are just watching and they're wanting to learn. But if you have to choose a deal that you can walk us through from the start to where it is now, how you got it in and where you are now, and why are you there, then we'll appreciate it. So tell us of a deal.
Yes. Yeah. So TJ, the deal that I'm going to talk about is actually one of the deals that has happened recently. So it is a student accommodation building in Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. So how I came across it was that there was an estate agent who I had a good relationship with here in Joburg. But then I said to them that for now in 2021, 2022, I want to get some deals there in Port Elizabeth, because I was hearing that the shortage of student accommodation there was quite hectic. It was quite a big shortage. So I thought I could tap into that market. So I said to this estate agent in Joburg, why don't you speak to some of your colleagues in Port Elizabeth, your fellow agents, and try them to find me a deal for student accommodation. So then a month went by, and then after about 5 weeks, the agent calls me and says that she has come across a student accommodation deal, which she thinks I would like. And then I went down and did the viewing, and I liked the deal because it's a building that houses about 100 students, and the building. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. So the building houses 100 students, and it also had accreditation from the local university, the Nelson Mandela University. It had NSFAS accreditation, so there was another tick in the box. And also that how the deal happened, which was like something that I'd never done before, was that instead of doing it the normal way, where you obviously do it using an OTP, where you just buy the property using an offer to purchase, I'd never really thought of doing a sale of shares agreement, where instead of buying just the property, you actually buy the company that owns the property. This normally works in situations where the property is the only asset in the company, right? So, the sellers, myself, the agent, and the sellers, we met over coffee, and then we thought about the benefits of the two options: the normal route using the offer to purchase, or the other route using a sale of shares agreement. So we decided then on doing the sale of shares agreement, where we would buy the company, because we discussed that the benefits for the buyer and the seller would be that the benefits for the buyer would be that you don't pay transfer duty because it's a commercial property and you are buying a company. And then for the seller, the benefit would be that they minimize their capital gains tax. But then questions came up that if I'm buying your company, I don't know what you have done with your company in the past. What if you've used the company for other sureties or for other debts? So in order for me to buy this company, I need to know the financial history. I need to know the annual financial statements, the audited financials of the past 3 years. And I would also say that I also need to be sure that you don't owe the SARS, the revenue service, too much money. So I also need a tax clearance certificate to make sure that this company is up to date when it comes to their tax. Because imagine buying a company and then 6 months down the line, you get a surprising message from SARS that this company owes this much, something that the previous owners didn't tell you. So the deal then, as I've said, happened as a sale of shares agreement. And even up to today, I'm still glad that I've gone that route and that I did my due diligence.
Well done. Yeah, I've got many questions around this deal.
Yes.
Also, because I think,
yeah, sorry, if I can also mention that, sorry, the funding for the deal happened with TAF, the Trust for Urban Housing Finance, because the property is located in a CBD. So and also because the sellers, they also had a bond with TAF. So it became obvious that how we can do is that I can take over the bond, and which then would also made it easier for me to get the finance for the property. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna give a moment to everyone so that they can ask questions, particularly around this deal and how you have navigated it. So firstly, I want to say to you, well done, well done, well done. 100 beds, and let me shoot off. I don't know if Rita's got some questions there, but I'm gonna shoot off with 2 of my questions. And my first 2 questions are you from Port Elizabeth?
Yes, originally from that side, and I've also got family that side.
Okay, so is that what gave you comfort to go? Because you stay in Johannesburg, right?
Yes.
Okay, is that what gave you comfort to go and invest because you know the area?
Correct. Yes, I know the area, and I also know the CBD, the inner city of Port Elizabeth.
Ah, okay, all right, okay, cool. Happy with that one. Then my second question is that whilst you're sitting in Johannesburg, you ask of an estate agent to do work for you in another town.
Yes.
A lot of books have been written around invest where you are or invest very close to where you are.
Yes.
And you go on to do the opposite. And the question is, why?
Yes. Okay. So firstly, it's because my comfort level really in terms of investing in that city were quite high, because I knew the city quite well. After also driving around the city quite a lot, just seeing the opportunity. So my comfort levels were quite high there, and also because the demand for the student accommodation in that area, I also knew that it was quite high because I had spoken to several people, like, such as your estate agents, people at the tertiary institutions also. So I knew that there was a market. So I thought to myself, I can't just limit myself to where I am now. Let me also tap into that market, because obviously the higher the demand, then the better the chances of success. So I sort of like wanted to tap into the crisis that was facing that city in terms of the shortage of student accommodation.
Mm.
Yes.
So are you moving to Port Elizabeth? I mean,
No.
this is 100 beds. How are you going to be managing 100 beds from Johannesburg?
Yes. Okay. So one of the things I've learned also, thanks to M5 Property Varsity, is that besides just investing in another city, you, just like we spoke about earlier, you can leverage other people's time and skills, where you can outsource the management of the building or the property to a management company, especially a management company that has got experience and has dealt with your particular clientele, which in this case is the students. So the management company that I went for is a company that I know has done that, particularly in Cape Town. That they've been quite creative in dealing with students.
I wonder who that is.
Yes. Yeah, my student
Yeah,
house.
we're all wondering who that person is. Yeah, so
Yes.
so cool. I really like that. And here's something that I want to say to people. Khanya, you spoke of my M5 Property Varsity, and you've come through into the network of us learning. You had already been doing your stuff, but you plugged in to learn with us. You came through into the property boot camp, and you've been learning within the last year and things like that. And with all the mentorings and all the classes that are happening throughout the year,
Yes.
you have done what Rita and I haven't been able to do.
Yes.
And I think I'm excited of your journey, because when Rita and I started the student accommodation, we didn't go 100 students.
Yes. Yes.
We what was our number again? Was it 30, 32, somewhere there?
32, yeah, when we started, the first one.
Yeah. But we were still scared at the time.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and
I can understand.
And there were we didn't know anyone else who was doing this. We had no backup. We ended up bringing someone into the business for them to teach us how this thing works. But now we created our own product. And I think this is where a lot of people miss it. Your confidence of going into a 100-bed is because you have seen it being done.
Yes.
And you have said to yourself, if these guys are doing it like this, I can do it better. Because you're seeing it. And besides seeing it, you also know that, well, these guys are not failing, they're doing it well, so I can also do it. So it has boosted your confidence in doing this. And I might say this, and it might sound like I am saying, I'm raving myself and Rita, but that's not what I'm saying here. I am saying the magic between the three of us has created more power in you. But as a standalone, we're not able to do that. As a standalone, I'm scared of student accommodation. Rita is like, let's try it. And on your own, Khanya, you'll be like, I don't know, maybe it works. But now combined, the three of us, the magic of getting into 100-bed is amazing because the education is there, the support structure is there, the understanding is there. And I just want to say to the three of us, well done to us. Am I allowed to say that?
That's right, Nick.
Yeah.
And
No,
high five.
Yeah. Well done to us, right? But I think this statement is very much for people that are sitting on the sideline or they're getting stuck somewhere. But I'm going to end it there on your deals. Well done. Can we go into the comments, Rita, and just check in on some people that have asked questions, and we can we'll let Khanya answer those questions. You know, if a guy's got 100 beds, he's well experienced, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he will answer the questions today.
Yeah. All right. Are you going to put it up on the screen there?
I can, if you want me to.
Oh, I can just read it.
So we've got a couple of people in here. Yeah, go for it.
I think there's some people that's asking, you know, which comes down to how do you buy without a bond and potentially no cash? Is that even possible? Have you done it like that before, Khanya, or you haven't had the jumping through those hoops?
Yeah, no, myself, I haven't yet done it without yet a bond because all the properties I've bought so far, they've either been financed through the bank or other institutions such as TAF. So, but I know that it's possible, especially it's not easy, but if one can get angel investors, obviously it takes quite a lot of trust where the first deal you do with the angel investors and you give them a good return, then they are more likely to do more deals with you. And also these days there's more people sort of are getting a bit of financial assistance from the likes of Stockfells and also using crowdfunding platforms.
Yeah, and I think the one that we've done to buy properties and to sell properties, both ways, we've played in both spaces, is really around what we call seller finance, or you know, the owner becomes the bank. So we bought properties from owners where we're using our rental income to pay the owner off. Okay, and we have also been the owner that sells a property to the next person. We know that that person has the experience. We know that they'll be able to run the property properly. They've got a vision on what they want to do with the property. And in those cases, we said, okay, fine, you can pay it off. It doesn't have to all be in a bulk payment right up front. And we have been that seller that's providing the finance. So that is actually quite a good one. And there's more people that do that now, especially in a market like this, where you know not everything is selling immediately, that sort of thing. Then you'll find sellers that are more inclined to do that sort of thing. And I think also partially what you have done actually is by getting a property that already has a bond and you're just taking the bond over. That is, yes, it's still bank finance, but you're just taking the bond over. That's also another way of actually buying property without going to the bank to get a bond at that point.
Yes, correct. And also these days, there's more people doing your installment sale agreements because I would say that's another way for someone to buy a property without really using much of their, in fact, little or to zero of their own money, where you obviously buy the property over a certain period of time and almost like you also taking over the bond and then using the rental income from the property to pay off the bond, then eventually the property becomes yours.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
All right. Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna go into some of the other questions here. I think Tulisile was saying they agree very much with the statement that you mentioned earlier on about scientists and many people being on the bench, not working. So yeah, I'm just going through the questions here. Someone is asking, do you have to qualify to buy a property in a bank or how? So I think the question there is, how do you qualify? How do you qualify to buy a property via the bank? I'll leave that on for you, Khanya.
Thanks, Mama. So usually, in order for one to qualify to buy the property through the bank, it obviously will depend on the price of the property and the affordability of the person who wants to buy the property. Whereby the bank is going to assess your affordability by looking at your income and your expenses, in other words, your personal monthly cash flow, and also your balance sheet, your assets and your liabilities. Then they assess all of that because they use that to assess how much money do you have left over that will allow you to manage the bond. And also they also assess your credit score in order to assess that you will qualify for the bond. But another way would obviously be if you are building your portfolio in a company, and the company, you always ensure that it's got your financials, like your annual financials. Then you can get to the point where your company has got sufficient income in that your personal income doesn't become the main determining factor in getting a bond. The company's financials become so good that the bank only focuses on the company's financials. Yeah, so that's how you do it.
Cool. Rita, you want to take another question?
Yeah, I see Caroline there says that you guys make it sound so easy. Please, if I've sinned in that way, then please correct me, but you are 100% right. It is difficult. It's simple. I think what we're trying to say is that it's simple, but guys, it is not easy. You really need to, as you go through it. I've made so many expensive mistakes where I lost literally hundreds of thousands of rands, even with a coach and whatever, because I made stupid decisions, right? So it is important to get the education so that and the support and the mentorship and the coaching, whatever it is that you need to for someone to take you by the hand step by step through that journey. That is really what you need. And just the idea is simple, but it's not easy. Definitely not.
No.
Yeah. Let me see. All right. But other than that, I mean, quite a lot of people are saying, well done on your deal there. I want to go back to ask a few questions around that deal, actually, because there's a few other things that I'm not getting. They're not sinking. You know me, I'm a slow learner. I have to go through a couple of things for it to sink. I look like I'm clever, but I'm not.
Yes.
So the student accommodation was existing.
Yes, it was an existing one, and the sellers actually they sold other buildings which they owned in the same company. This was the last one which they had not yet sold.
Okay. Now Rita and I, we've bought companies before, and our auditor recently was screaming at us and saying, you should never do that. Why did you do that? Hala hula hulas. And everyone in business generally says, if you can, especially if you're buying property, do not buy the company. You went on to do that against that.
Yes.
But you also mentioned that you you did what is called due diligence. So I know that it's 9:03. This is my last question, and then we'll end it off at the top or within the next 5 minutes or so. I apologize, we're running late. Khanya, what kind of due diligence and who helps with this type of due diligence when you are buying a company? And when you are buying a company, do you now go to the bank? So it's two questions there.
Yes.
The due diligence that you speak about on this company, and how do you actually buy the company? Do you now go to the bank and then the bank finances the company, they finance you? How does it work? There's a gray area for me.
Yes, TJ. So, yes, how you would buy the company is that because the company is like an entity, and in order to assess the value of the company, you need to look. I will emphasize this, that you need to look and ask for the latest audited financials of the company, or let's say the last 3 years financials, in order to really see the value of the company. Then what you can do is that you can also take the financials to the bank and say to them, based on these financials and how much money this company makes, would you be willing to finance this company? Because the value of the company, it's mostly determined by the revenue, the cash flow in the company, and of course the balance sheet. This company has got these assets worth this much. Therefore, you as a bank, would you be prepared to fund this company? Yeah, so it's definitely possible to take the financials to the bank, and they will assess and see how much they can finance.
And it's almost better to do it like that, to take it to the bank, because they are definitely the experts when it comes to assessing, right? So
yes.
if they say no, we'll finance this company, then chances are that they due diligence, they've been doing that for forever. So they will almost like double check everything for you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the interest of time, Khanya, I want to thank you. Khanya, the scientist. I really want to thank you for coming through to the show, and just telling us of your journey and what you have done, and well done on your property, that your new acquisition, to your success. So how many tenants do you now have across board?
Okay, in total, besides the 100 students, I would say it's now 138 tenants.
Away. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to 10 years.
my last question. Looks like I'm frozen there. Am I frozen?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. So my last question there is, where to from here?
Yes. So
what's the next mile?
Yes. So the next goals now is I've noticed that in South Africa, in fact worldwide, one of the impacts of COVID is that people are obviously working more and more remotely. So and people are like moving more away from your bigger cities such as Joburg and moving to smaller towns. And of course, people these days, when it comes to employment, they don't really have too much loyalty. They are prepared to move from company to company. So what I've noticed is that there's also now an increasing demand in South Africa for self-storage facilities where people can store their things like furniture. Let's say someone finds a job in Cape Town, but they were living in Joburg, and then they'll say, okay, I'm not selling my stuff. I'm going to keep it in a self-storage facility because I might come back to Johannesburg. So there is quite a demand now for self-storage. So from now on, I'm also going to be focusing on that market, because the other advantage of that market is that the overheads are quite low, because you literally have tenants who are not staying on the property. They just keep their stuff. Therefore, there's like almost no consumption of electricity and water. So yes, your rentals are not that high, but your overheads are very, very low. So your cash flow will be quite good. Yeah.
I'll be so happy not to deal with tenants and water and electricity. Oh, you just sold me on that model right there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Khanya. Rita, thanks for joining us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, if this information has been helpful to you, let us know. If you're an investor who is doing, we don't know you, we would like you to have you as a guest here as well. So how best do you contact us? You drop us an email on info@m5propertyaddicts.com. We would really want to engage with you and also feature you on our show like this, where we can also learn just as much as we have learned from the scientist who is no longer the scientist. So we can't call you a scientist no more, is it?
The property scientist. We can call him the property scientist.
Yeah. Instead of now being a property addict, I'm a property scientist.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will check you out on the next video. Until we meet again, keep watching.
Thank you. Thanks.